Emotional releasing is a very interesting procedure. And it's something in Western medicine we've always considered when people come in and they have pain and we can't find a reason for it. Well, they say it's all in your head. And they don't mean it in the very nicest of ways. They mean, you made it up. It's a little loopy. You're a little nuts. But truth be told, when they say the word psychosomatic, it doesn't mean you're nuts. What it means is you've taken something that's stressful and upsetting to your psyche or your brain or your personality, and you're manifesting it in the soma, which is your body. The thing about psychosomatic conditions is that emotions are protein structures. So they're not just electrical thoughts that zip by and are gone. They're proteins. They're actual tangible things. And if you have an emotion and it's negative and you don't want to feel it, so you stuff it down, you don't break down those proteins and you store them somewhere. And they store in the tissue, often in the muscles. Many people store emotional pain in their bodies. They're not very emotive, or bad things have happened to them. You can't walk around with all your pains pinned on the outside. And so they store them inside. And inside they don't feel good. They're sad or they're scared or they're mad a lot. And when we release these things, it makes profound changes in their life. I wouldn't say changing the person they are, but in how they feel about life and how they go through their day-to-day. It's like carrying a big bag on your back all the time. You can't really see it because it's behind you, but it's weighing you down. So emotional releasing can be very liberating. When I first learned about emotional releasing, it sounded a little odd to me. I was at a seminar for exercise physiology, which is so different, and the nighttime session was on neuro-emotional technique. I had flown on a plane to get there. I had been sitting in hard, uncomfortable chairs, and I had sciatica. You know what that is? Where you have pain coming down through your hip and down your leg. And I was very uncomfortable. And once you get that going on, it usually lasts for a while. So when the instructor asked if there was anyone who had any pain going on, I raised my hand. And I went to the front and he demonstrated on me. He found an emotional issue that had been there for much of my life. He released it. And I thought, oh, well. But I went back to my seat, and by the next break, the pain was gone from my leg. And I didn't have any pain in my low back going back on the airplane or sitting in those seats for the rest of the seminar or at all for quite a long time. It was amazing. There's this interesting story about a patient I had who, very macho, kind of silent guy, and he'd been in a motorcycle accident on his Harley. And he was improving nicely, but one day he came in and said, I have this pain in my back, and it's like someone is stabbing me. It is so sharp. And I adjusted it, but it didn't improve it at all. So I determined that it was emotionally based and found out that while he was about to encounter this accident and he saw it coming, the emotion trap struck him so strongly because he had no way out. The car came right in front of him. He flipped over, landed on his head in the street. And so I talked to him about it. We did the procedure, and he broke down and crying. And after he finished, the pain was gone. When we find out what the emotion is and we bring it back to the conscious awareness of the patient, their body will continue breaking down that protein, and then it's gone. And the problems associated with it are gone. Often in a chiropractic setting, we'll get the feeling that something is emotionally based because it's chronic. Every time the patient comes in, the same segment is out. The way to test for it involves kinesiology and some specific procedures, but we can tell very clearly if it is or is not emotionally based. If it is, I have to say there's probably 5 or 6 emotional releasing procedures I know now, and so I can handle it a number of different ways. The one I use most commonly is called neuro-emotional technique, and it was developed by a chiropractor for chiropractors who run into these problems of finding people who have chronic subluxations, things that are chronically out of place every time we see them. Over time, I've incorporated using these more often with people who have other issues besides pain issues or subluxation issues that they want to release. For example, if whenever a certain subject came up, you would start to cry or feel very upset or very scared or very sad, you might want to come in and do some work on releasing the background emotional issues that you're holding on to that are keeping you feeling that way. A lot of the times with emotional releasing, we run into things that are really in the subconscious. You don't remember. You're not thinking about the fact that somebody hurt your feelings very, very badly 20 years ago, or that when your mother died, you never released all the feelings, and so now whenever anyone talks about motherhood or close relationships with their children, you get upset, or you have headaches, or you have pain. And so if you come in with a problem on that kind of a level, this always upsets me. I'm afraid to drive on the freeway. I'm afraid to drive after an accident. We can look into the emotions that are behind that and release them. And suddenly you'll feel lighter and better, and it's easier to get through life.